Hello and welcome back. Today I wanted to do a really short, fast review of a program called ANKI, which most language learners will be familiar with, as will many college students, medical students, or basically anybody who needs to remember and retain a bunch of information. So ANKI is an SRS system, which is a spaced repetition system, which means that you load in questions or vocabulary or whatever, and it prompts you just about the time you're about to forget. And it does this on a algorithm that basically lets you retain the information. Now, the thing that Anki does is when you use it, you tell it how well you remembered it, if you didn't remember it, or if it was easy for you, or whatever. And then that goes into the algorithm and it works out when to ask you next the same question. Now, because Anki only really schedules things that you tend to forget, it can become a bit of a torture machine, because it starts to just ask you questions that you don't remember repeatedly. And so, it just becomes a torture machine. But the thing is, it's not asking you the things that you remember because you remembered them. So it doesn't bother with that. Now, for me, I use it for vocabulary, but I also use it to retain some personal information or some quotes or things like that. So I use it quite a bit, and I'm very familiar with it. But Anki has a desktop version, which you can see here. It has a phone, an iOS, Apple, as well as an Android version. It has a web version, which is where, when you create an account, all of your data is stored effectively on a cloud system, and it allows you to synchronize back and forth between the desktop and the phone and the web and etc. So let me just quickly run you through how this works. These are my actual cards, and it does have stats, which I'm actually going to be a bit ashamed of because I haven't used it for a while, but it does show you the stats, how frequently you've used it, what you're learning, when you learned, and how long. So you can get your stats, but if we go into this, this is a deck I call Influence, but basically it's more or less just quotes and things that I want to remember. So here's a quote, and basically I want to see this sort of quote frequently. The answer is literally just the quote again. But down here you'll notice it says again, i.e. It was very difficult and I didn't remember it. Hard, now I've been using this a long time, so even a hard one I should remember, and it's going to schedule it for 2.7 years from now. If I mark it as good, like I did remember it, then it'll put it at 5.3 years. And if I say it was easy, it'll put it to almost 7 years from now before I see this question again. Now, I've been using this deck probably 10 or 12 years, so I've seen these cards a lot. But let's just say I want to see it again. It'll just redo it for a time closer. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Great, show the answer. Now this one I just put in recently. So this isn't an old fermented card. This is a new, young sort of card. I do remember this one. But if I wanted to see it more frequently, I'd press hard. But honestly, it was pretty easy. Only dead fish swim with the stream, which is basically sort of saying that, everything struggles if it's living. So that's fine. I'll see that again in a couple days. So this is basically how you do an Anki deck. And when you finish, you'll have finished the deck, and that'll be it. So Now that you've finished the deck, you can move on to other decks. You can get different types of cards. These are closed cards, and what you have to do here,
안 보여요.
안 보여요.
it's asking you, so this is and then it wants you to type in 보여요. And I don't have my Korean keyboard plugged in, but I can listen to the audio again.
안 보여요.
안 보여요.
I can type it in, or I can
안
just
보여요.
show the
안
answer.
보여요.
And so this is what it was wanting me to type in. It's highlighted that in blue. I basically missed it. So we'll do it again.
말하다.
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 So that's a closed deletion set. You can also just get cards that are audio only or video only. Now, the answer to this one is actually in Korean. Now you can see why I haven't made this a closed card. On the ANKI Droid app, which for ANKI, it would actually read this out for me using a text-to-speech. But because I don't have that plug-in into my desktop, it's not doing that. But I can basically see the cards in either way. So the other one was in English and the answer was in Korean. This one is in Korean and the answer is in English. So adding cards is very straightforward. So if I go here and I just click add, then it will pop up an add card. Now I can just type something in the front and the back and then press add. It'll let me continue to add cards, as many as I want, one after the other. Or you can import them using a file import from a CSV file. And you can also have multiple profiles. So, for example, I think I have yes. So I've stored some temporary stuff in here.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
Now, all of these, it does take HTML and CSS, so for display. So you notice that some of the cards are just blank white, some have colored backgrounds and colored text and all of that. So you can do all of that sort of thing with the card. So if we just pick one and browse the cards, we can edit the notes. So we can create notes, export notes, find duplicates, manage all the note types. So this is where you want all of your editing and stuff happens inside of here. You can reset the dates, you can bury the cards, find cards, search for them, all kinds of stuff, and manage note types. So for me, I've got in here a multitude of different types of notes. There's just the basic, there's a basic with a reversed, a close card, so type in the answer. There's a close in Hangul, close for Korean. So there's lots of different note types. So if we just pick one more or less at random and I look at the cards, this is what the card is. So it says show the front, and on the back it just shows the answer, which is the front, like this. So it shows front and back. These can be more complicated. So you can get, as you can see here, the div class, the HTML, and also you can see the fields. So in this one there's English, Korean, there's a hint, there's extra, there's an image grid, and there's audio. And you can add these to your cards. So I don't know, if I wanted to just add a field here, I can add image grid, and you can see that it'll just stick that in. So I'll just delete that quickly because I don't want that. So you can change the fields, you can change the cars. There are many options that you can use to create images. There is a plethora of things you can do with Anki. It's super customizable, which is can be an issue, but honestly you can just use all of the default settings if you need to. Now there's probably a million different ways to configure your Anki decks, and there's probably 1,000 different YouTube videos that show you how to do that, so I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to show you that, you know, it's there, it's available, it's a really good SRS system, and I think you should have a look at it. If you're looking for something, an SRS system, have a look. It's mainly free, I think, except for on a Macintosh or on an Apple phone, but if you're using Windows or Linux or Android, then all of your options are free. I know I use this personally. My daughter used it when she was going through university for paramedic, to remember drug side effects and, you know, all sorts of things, parts of the body, whatever. And there are pre-made decks you can get for if you're a medical student or you know, a mathematician or whatever. There are pre-made decks that for things in your area of study that are made by somebody else. You can just download them and start using them straight away without any worry or hassle for yourself. So that's my review of Anki. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you again. And please subscribe. And like if you like the video. Thank you very much. Goodbye.